Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Guntur Purwanto. You can call me Guntur, and I'm currently working as physics teacher in one of junior high school in Bandung. So in this occasion, I'd like to present to you about my research titled Gases Theory Representation Instrument, or GATRI, a practical tool to analyze Sundanese students' conception in the COVID-19 pandemic. I was not working alone in this research, but instead of that, I worked together with my colleagues, which are Professor Andi Suhandi and Dr. Ahmad Samsudin. So let's start our presentation by this outline. So the first, I will tell to you a little bit more about introductions, why I choose this research and why I did this research. After that, we will dig more into the methodology of this research and then what kinds of result and discussion did I write in the paper and what the conclusion that I got from this research. So let's start from the number one, which is introduction. Firstly, all the researchers know that conceptual understanding or students' conception is an important thing in the learning process because it is not only to reconstruct the intelligence of associations, but also conceptual understanding is one of the one of the important output from the physics learning. Secondly, many researchers, especially education researchers, have implemented multi-tier instruments to assess conceptual understanding as well as students' conception. However, the students' responses that have been collected from the multi-tiers mostly analyzed using commonly or conventional statistical analysis. We found that it's rarely found that researchers using advanced statistical or uncommon statistical analysis such as Rush model analysis and extract. Apart from that, we also found that the instrument to assess kinetic theory of gases is still rarely found in the physics, from the other physics researchers. So we combined these two problems. So that's why this is the title, which is Gases Theory Representation Instrument or GATRI, a practical tool to analyze Sundanese students' conception in the COVID-19 pandemic. And this statistical analysis using Rush model. So here's the methodology of this research. The instrument is developed using FODEM, or it is the abbreviation of formative development method. And this FODEM strategy has three comprehensive steps, which are need analysis. So in the first step, we analyze what kinds of things we need in this research, or the abbreviation of it is NA, and then we implemented the things we got, and then we did a formative evaluation. The participant of this research is 28 high school students in West Java, and they consist of 12 male, or we can call as Akang, and 14 female students, and we can call them Teteh. Akang and Teteh come from Sundanese language, which means male and female respectively. And the participants are mainly 17 years old. So it can be concluded they are roughly in the second grade in the senior high school. We decided to do random sampling because the population of this research is 2,831 high schools, which is all high school in West Java. And then there are two kinds of analysis. Firstly, the student's answer will be categorized based on conception criteria, which will I talk more in the next page. And the second step of analysis is the student's responses were analyzed using scoring. I will talk more about this analysis in the next page. So here's the student's conception category. There are 6 levels of conceptions, which are sound understanding in the first level or in the top of level of conception, followed by partial positive, partial negative until no coding. For example, if the students answer correct in the tier 1 and then sure in the tier 2 and then correct in the tier 3 and then sure in the tier 4, then the students will be categorized as sound understanding in the particular questions, and they will get 4 of the score. On the other hand, if the students answer incorrect in the tier 1, which is the main concept of the question, and not sure in the tier 2, and then incorrect in the tier 3, which is the reasons related to the first tier, and then sure in the tier 4, then the students will be categorized as no understanding, and they will get no for the score. As you can see, there are three possibilities of no understanding. First possibilities, second possibilities, and third possibilities. And there are, let me sum it first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 possibilities for students to get partial negative. Okay, so here's the level of conceptions, and in the right of the table is the score of the level of conceptions. So let's move on to the result and discussion. I divided this result and discussion into three steps, which are need analysis, implementation, and formative evaluation. So let's start with need analysis. In this need analysis, there are 4 steps which I've done, which are firstly conducted literature studies to decide the concepts. So after we conduct the literature, we decided to choose kinetic theory of gases because it's really found the instrument related to this topic. Secondly, we analyzed the concept objective based on curriculum 20 and 13 in Indonesia. So after we analyze based on the curriculum, we decided to develop 8 questions related to the concepts that we decided before, which is kinetic theory of gases. And in the third steps, decided the format of instrument. And finally, we decide the 4 tiers format for each question. It means for one questions, they will, I mean, each question will have 4 tiers. And finally, develop the instrument. And here is one of the examples of the questions. As you can see, this is number 1 of the instrument of kinetic theory of gases, or GAT3. The tier 1 is the main concept of this particular concept. As you can see, there are vessel, balloons, and and etc. Here's the main concept. And the tier 2 is the level of confidence why they choose particular answer in the first tier. And here's the tier 3. It's a reason why they choose a particular answer in the tier 1. And the last tier, or the 4th tier, is related to the level of confidence why they choose the particular answer in the tier 3. Okay, so here's the example of the instrument. After that, after we did analysis, we need an analysis, we implemented it online, by online to the students. Why we choose online? Because we did this research in the first phase of pandemic era in the last year. So it's quite hard to reach out the students to school and spread the instrument directly to the students. So we decided to use online, which is Google Form. And it was very easy for us to reach out to students using this technique. And as you can see, here is the example of our implementation using Google Form. So let's move on to the formative evaluation, which is the main presentation of this occasion. We decided into 2 parts, which are firstly, the students' answers are categorized based on conception criteria, and then the students' response were analyzed using rush analysis. And here's, as you can see, here is a figure here, and this figure tells us about the students' conception categories, which is the first steps of formative evaluations. As you can see, the blue one is sound understanding and the orange one is partial positive and etc. And we can conclude that most of the students have sound understandings, which is good. And it makes sense actually because we spread this instrument just after they learn about kinetic theory of gases. So it's very makes sense. After we categorize the students' conceptions, we convert these categories into the score based on the table that I've mentioned before in the previous slide. And then we did an analysis using Rush model. And here's the conclusion. First, we got person reliability, which is 0.67, which means sufficient. And then we got item reliability, which is 0.68, which is sufficient. And then the Cronbach alpha is 0.71, which is good. So from this data, from this conclusion, we can conclude that the GAT3 is reliable and can be implemented as a tool to analyze students' conception on kinetic theory of gases. And the next one, we did the analysis related to difficulty level of gases theory representation instrument, just to make sure that the difficulty level spread proportionally for each question. As you can see, there is a right map here as the output of Rush model. The left side is, where's the cursor? Wait a minute. Okay, here's the cursor. The left side is the person, 01 P means perempuan in Indonesia, or it is female, and she is a female. He is a man because L or means laki-laki in Indonesia. And in the right side is the question. For instance, S3 means question number 3, S7 means question number 7. We can see that S3 and S7 or question 3 and question 7 has the same difficulty levels. However, question number 3 have different difficulty levels because with the question number 6 because the positions of them is quite different. Based on this right map, we can conclude that there is no gender bias because the the people or the students who successful to answer all question correctly is female, and here's the bottom one as also a female, and the rest of them distributed proportionally here, so there is no gender bias. Sorry for that. It means that the instrument is valid and reliable to use. Okay, so let's move on. Apart from that, we also did a validity and distinction level of gases theory representation instrument for each question. Question number 1 have valid for the validity interpretation based on the data as the output of Rush calculation or Rush model, and the distinction or distinction level is very good. So as you can see from these equations, most of them have valid and very good or good validity as well as distinction level, except number 3. So it means I and my colleges need to simple revisions for the question number 3. So here's the conclusion. Based on analyzing phase, the instrument is reliable and valid to use to assess students' conception in kinetic theory of gases material. Furthermore, the difficulty and distinction level are equally distributed and have an appropriate level. This result can be utilized by teachers to assess students' conception as well as by researchers to carry out further research related to this topic. So that's the conclusion, which states that the instrument is valid and reliable to use to assess kinetic theory of gases material in the school. So that's all for me. If you have any questions related to this topic or research, you can leave the comment below. here, or just text me a message or in WhatsApp or yes, something like that, or email. I just want to say thanks to Professor Andi Suhandi and Dr. Ahmad Samsudin, who always guide me to do this research. That's all from me. Thank you very much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.